are in the midstream of sobering reality. I know most of you are not even awake yet because you've been staying up late, so you're hours. But I hope that when you do watch as it appears on your feed, that you will share this information. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. Thank you so much. 3, 2, it's unbelievable. 1. Hey everybody, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Harriet. Is a fact of life here in America, especially for us here in Michigan. Just yesterday, the Michigan governor had a press conference in which she laid out and outlined that if we do not stay at home, we're likely to end up on the trajectory that Italy has. So I want to put perspective for all of us, because some of us might think that even at this time, people are still, nothing is going on. It's not as serious. So let me put this in perspective for you. The Italian Prime Minister tweeted yesterday these facts. These are the facts. The Italian Prime Minister tweeted there were 475 deaths on Thursday, 627 on Friday, 793 on Saturday, for a total of 4,800 deaths in Italy due to the coronavirus. So let me put that into perspective. So when a governor says shelter in place, they know what they're talking about. In fact, there have been over 400 cases of the coronavirus. On my Facebook timeline yesterday, there were so many RIPs. It was incredible. After a while, I was like, did something happen? Why was there a mass shooting or something? Why people were just RIPing to everybody, RIPing. And after a while, I counted 18 RIPs on my Facebook timeline yesterday. People are dropping like flies. And as the Michigan governor said, that we don't want the health system to be overwhelmed, which it looks like it's going to be. There are not enough ventilators. So people are probably staying at home and waiting until the last minute before they go to the hospital. And then by the time they go to the hospital, the virus is so cruel and so wicked and so overpowering and so overwhelming that it literally is drying out the fluid in people's bodies and cutting you off. Like 1 minute they're here, the next minute they're on a ventilator, the next minute they're totally gone. So stay home. We do not need to go out. Yesterday, before she issued the order, I made sure that I covered everything that we could possibly want. We won't want anything, thank God, for at least 14 days. So we don't have to go out to the backyard, go for a walk or something. But I don't have to be in the public. This is a dangerous time. The virus is peaking. It's spreading exponentially. Stay home, everybody. Stay home. Are you all hearing me? Stay home. Don't go out. You have enough food, subsist on what you have. Order takeout. Let them put it on the porch or something, right? Put it on the doorknob. Ring the doorbell when they come, or not ring the doorbell. Just put it there. You will know when it's delivered, but stay home, right? These are dangerous times. And if we're not careful, each state could end up like Italy. And I heard the president say yesterday that he's planning to lift the shelter-in-place order. Well, he didn't implement it anyway. These were implemented by the governors. Okay? The governors are taking care of their people. I don't know what the president is thinking. I don't know where his information is coming from. And frankly, I'm hurt that he doesn't think that I'm valuable enough and you're valuable enough for him to pay attention to what we need to do. We don't need, there is no economy without us. We are the people. We are the backbone of the economy. We're the backbone of this country. It's not the big fat cats on Wall Street. It's not the fat cats who are making all the money. It's paper money, first of all. That's the first thing we all need to understand about how the stock market works. It's paper money. It's inflated value. And the way the system is structured, that inflated value translates into money that the Treasury gives them, and then they put it in their banks, and that's how come they're super rich. They're not the backbone of the economy. The fact that the president is going to tell us that we have to go back to work is enough to make you know that we are the drivers of the economy. So don't go to work, because you go to work, you're going to lose your life. Because here's the deal. They're putting us in the juxtaposition where if you don't go back to work, they're going to fire you. So you won't get a stimulus check. You won't get unemployment. Your employer won't pay you. So you will lose everything. That is just stone cold, harsh, no heart ever that any leader could ever display to its people. Right now in Italy, in 3 days, they had over 2,000 people dead. because of this virus. In Italy, they transformed hospital rooms, like an entire, like floors of hospitals have just been filled with coffins to just put people in coffins. Imagine that. That's what could happen here if we all go back to work. If everybody starts going back taking the subway, that's the problem. The fat cats panic because they don't have backbone. Let's just be clear. They don't know what it is like. Their days of taking risk were in the early days of their startups. Once they started making the paper money, it all went to shot. So now they don't have backbone. So when they saw people stop buying stuff and their indices told them that people stopped buying stuff, they just went stir crazy. They started screaming and yelling, call the White House, call the president. Because our lives are worth more than your fat cat existence. You're nothing. We can replace you. We don't want any fat cats from Wall Street who make hundreds of millions of dollars in hedge funds. Come tell the people that we should go back to work, start using mass transit, start going back to stores so you can live your exalted existence. You probably live in a bubble. You probably have a whole smoke screen around you that no one can penetrate. But you want people to go out and mix with others who have this virus. People are dropping like flies in Michigan. It's going to be really, really bad. The southeastern portion of Michigan is the most heavily populated. Detroit is the most densely populated city in Michigan. Naturally, Detroit has one of the highest poverty rates in the city. I'm waiting to see the numbers from Flint and Saginaw and Lansing and South Lansing. I'm waiting to see what those numbers are. And Benton Harbor and Muskegon, wherever there's poverty, there are going to be deaths, because that means what? Healthcare is absent. And if healthcare is absent, some of these folks had underlying health conditions already, most of them. That meant they probably had unattended, untreated health situations that the virus just exacerbated. You see now why it's important to keep us all healthy, keep your temple healthy? You see now why it's always been important to wash our hands? Somebody called me yesterday, my handyman called me yesterday to ask me, and I was like, seriously, you shouldn't be calling me to ask me about that, because you can't come in my car without me handing you hand sanitizer. You can't touch surfaces in my car. You can't touch surfaces in my house. Somebody comes to my house, as soon as they leave, I Lysol the place out. That's always been me. At one point, my kids thought that they used to say that as soon as they left the house, when they came back, the whole house would smell of bleach. I use bleach to clean my floors. I use bleach on every surface in my house that is not going to become stained by bleach or, lose the color kind of thing. We have to do these things. My friends, don't go out. The virus is in the atmosphere. It's on every surface you're going to encounter and everything you're going to touch. If you must go out, put on a scarf. It doesn't have to be an N95 mask. Just put something on that filters the air that you're going to breathe. Make sure you have gloves on. And whatever clothing you wear, drop it into the laundry as soon as you come. Don't bring it into your living space. Are you following me? This is serious. We're in serious times, y'all. This is very, very serious. Right? And it is. Well, this is why we need to have faith, because when you encounter information such as what you hear that they are saying, it makes you have to say, you know what, I'm just going to trust in the Lord God Almighty, because I have nothing else that I can hold on to. Because pretty soon we don't know where this is going. We don't exactly know the fallout. We know there's going to be catastrophe, economic catastrophe, but look, y'all, we can reset the economy. They just need to restart the economy when this is passed. But the fat cats don't care. What they want is for us to buy their products. They want us to go in the Apple store and buy more Apple products. They want us to go into Verizon and start more contracts and buy new phones. They want us to go into Walmart, Best Buy, right? And Target and every other retailer and buy more stuff. They want us to go back to the malls and buy. We are the important people. Understand that, because in times like these, when you look at the whole country, the uniqueness with the United States is that every state is its own little country. Michigan and the state of New York are following the trajectory of Italy. So is the state of California. We have 10 million people down here in Michigan, most of whom live 2/3 of the population live down here in Southeast Michigan. We got a problem. The governor is right to shut the place down. And I know everybody is confused, like, what is an essential worker? And I don't want to stay home. Well, go out there at your own peril. I will not be joining the mad foolishness. Because when this starts to spread, and by the middle of April, it's now almost the end of March. By the 13th of April, when the governor's order should lift, that's when you're going to see more deaths and more people being admitted to hospital. That's when it's going to reach 10,000 cases. That's when you're going to see 2,000 deaths in Michigan. Then you're going to stay home? See what I mean? So the story is that in times of crisis, people can turn to religion, and religion can either help you cope with it or hurt. I have seen where people have become fanatical to the extent where pastors are even encouraging people to come into their sanctuary. Are you kidding me? You have no compassion for people. I could be sitting next to someone who has the virus. That's what I call fanaticism. That's religious fanaticism. That's not true worship. A true worship is anywhere you are, God is. That's what the Bible says. That's what every religion says, that it is in you. So why are you telling people? It's irresponsible. Why are pastors telling people to come into religious atmospheres to worship, knowing that people can touch one another? And I'm speaking to all religions. I'm speaking to Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, everyone who is encouraging people to come into some form of worship. And some of these folks are saying that all I need is Jesus and I don't need hand sanitizer. For the love of God, please do not touch me. If you do not believe that you need hand sanitizer in this crisis, you are crazy. You are not with God. Because God is going to tell you, use all the science. That's why he created science. So science can help us to survive. I've never understood this religious fanaticism that disclaims science. God is science. You can't even see God, but you know he exists. You can't explain how the earth and all the planets are formed. That's science. So how can you say that you don't need hand sanitizer? You just need Jesus. You need it all. You need Jesus and hand sanitizer. That's the part of religion that can hurt, is when people take it to the extreme. This is why for years I've always talked about religious fundamentalism and how fundamentalists of every religion have always been at fault and have always done more harm than good. The purity of religion is designed to build faith and cause you to believe in a system of beliefs that constitute a faith process in you, that encourages you, that gives you strength in times of crises. It's not designed to hurt anyone. It shouldn't be. However, over time, we have seen people do that. And I'm just going to be real, because, the Islamic people are going to come at me and say, well, crusades and so on. Yeah, that happened. But I can also talk about what Muhammad did. He had, and to this day, some people still believe in that. So there is bad on both sides of the aisle. So that's not what this is about. We're talking about the purity of the belief system and the form of it. So I know they're going to come at me. Go disclaim that, what I just said, and put that aside. Now, there are elements to Islam that I like. There are some parts of it. I mean, it teaches about Jesus Christ. It doesn't teach about the virgin birth, but it teaches that Jesus Christ was a prophet who lived. Because the prophet Muhammad was born some 1,500 years after Christ. So they knew about Christ. Hence why Jesus is incorporated and written into their writings. Let's just be clear. And this is why I never supported Christian fundamentalists who disclaimed Islam, because to me, it all points to a need that all human beings have, which is pointing to, we need a purpose and belief in something bigger and outside of ourselves. Now, we're not talking about capitalism and capitalists who believe that the almighty dollar is bigger than they are. That's what they're pushing and propagating and promulgating. That's not going to happen. And I'm going to pray against it right now, that does not exalt itself over the needs of people. I do not want to see 18 RIPs on my Facebook page of people's faces I have come to know. I don't want to see any more of that. I don't want to see the pain of the Italian prime minister. I don't want to see the governor looking desperately at the numbers, knowing that the data does not lie, and looking at it and saying, my people, stay home. I do not want to see that. I don't want to see the governor of New York taking stringent measures. Why is it so difficult for us to follow orders? Stay home, everybody. Be still. You want to live? Be still. You want to survive this and ride it out? Let's ride it out. We can create a community together. We can all go Twitter Live. We can all go Facebook Live and share what we're cooking, how we're doing, and so on. We can all do that and still feel like you're part of the community. Right? Right? But do not go out. Don't let them fool you. It is bad. Stay in your homes. If you feel like you go in your backyard, lift weights, jog on the spot, jog in place, walk around the neighborhood, but do not touch anybody. Don't touch surfaces. Don't touch anybody. Don't go into mass places because it's real out there. Right? Now, here's some way, and like I just pointed out, so if it's going to be Palm Sunday on the 6th of April. And then it's going to be Easter Sunday, the following Sunday. Ain't nobody going out. Do not. It has not peaked yet. It's not going to peak until towards the end of April. And even in May, we'll still be riding it. I don't know about you, but come September, what I want to do is celebrate Labor Day and celebrate Ash Wednesday, Memorial Day, and celebrate all the holidays that we would have missed. Can you imagine this Memorial Day? We can't even have a barbecue, y'all. I bought my ribs already and my barbecue sauce just in case. But I think I may need some more stuff for the grill. Grocery store, and they had firewood. And I'm like, this is the second or third time that I'm looking at firewood. And I'm like, So a lot of preachers need to get accustomed to the idea of streaming services. It ain't going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. Stream it. You will get used to how it feels. So all your antics of jumping up on stage, you're just a performer like the rest of us. But now you can't just jump up on stage because you don't have an active audience goading you on. Right? Now you will appreciate the people who walk into your sanctuaries even more. Trust me. When they come back, you're going to look amongst their faces to see who made it. And you'll be even more grateful for the opportunity. But stay home, right? Religious fanaticism. You know, I read the story of one guy in Israel who decided he was getting on a plane, and before he got off, you know, the authorities kind of told him, make sure you have hand sanitizer. And he said, Jesus is my hand sanitizer. He literally thought, listen to this, he literally thought that he could go up into the sky to appeal to Jesus. I'm like, that's not even faith. The Bible says, right where you are, call on the name of God and he will save. And if he doesn't save, then that was not his plan for you. Right? There's so many stories on my Facebook timeline of people who just checked out, who had a party 2 weeks ago. And I was like, you all went to a party 2 weeks ago? Let me backtrack. So 2 weeks ago was the 1st of March. You went to a party 2 weeks ago? You all did? And I was like, where were you? Were you in America? Did you see what was happening in China and what had begun to happen in Italy 2 weeks ago, and you all went to a party? So those folks who have died since then, everybody who went to that party needs to go get checked out if they aren't already displaying symptoms. Like, where were you? People were like, I'm still going to have my party. I don't believe in this virus. I'm still going to have my party. No, you are all in the same enclosed space, touching one another and transmitting the virus 1-to-1. It's now called a community effect because now everybody has it because it's all out there now. So it has gone from surface to surface touch to person to person to now community. You're just out there breathing in the air because everybody is. It's like yesterday I went to the grocery store and a man coughed into the air and everybody looked at him like, Jesus. Some people have can't get over their habits. Like, seriously. Get over it. Why have we never practiced good hygiene? Why weren't we ever sneezing or coughing into our sleeves, into our elbows? I told you the story when the virus became a thing in Michigan 2 weeks ago. I went to a Target and this woman was coughing her lungs out. And she was just coughing. And everybody was like, and I said, they need to disinfect that place. Because she was so irresponsible. And I said out loud, how irresponsible can you be? That you are out coughing into the atmosphere to infect everybody else. Right? And right now, the cases have become so many more that they're no longer saying where people touched others. So like when they interview people, they're like, well, who do you live with? Where do you live? Who have you been around? Where did you go? Anymore. Do you see? Because it really doesn't. Because it's out there already. It's kind of like it's out of the coop. Right? So I'm saying to all of us, we need to be more mindful of others for yourself. I know it's going to get scary financially and economically, but we're learning some things about this epidemic, haven't we? We learned some things about the economy. One of the things we learned that they could have always stopped foreclosures. They could have always stopped evictions. They could have always made pregnant women and disabled people work from home. Can you imagine that? All this time we've been calling people disabled, and disabled people have been saying, I can work. Let me do something. They could have always made disabled people work from home. They could have always made pregnant women work from home. You didn't have to be 7 months pregnant and totter your way into work, putting yourself at risk. That's why so many women are having preeclampsia, because they have to work while they're pregnant. The strain and the stress already of carrying a child, added to the strain and stress of going to work. No wonder. I've been trying to figure out, why are so many women developing because you're working while you're pregnant and in advanced stages of pregnancy. We have discovered that they could have always frozen student loans. Isn't that what people have been saying? Hello. They could have always frozen the interest payments and payments on student loans. Oh my God. They could have always frozen mortgage payments. They should do it now. That's why the fat cats are appealing before the president and bowing down before him, begging him to restart, because they ain't making the money that they normally would make. And they're looking at, if I don't make money for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, this whole thing is going to go bankrupt. Yeah, well, maybe you should start feeling what it is like to be an ordinary person. This is for every fat cat out there. Now you need to know what it's like to live. The wages that you pay people are not minimum wages, are not living wages. You barely pay people to live, but you still expect people to come out and buy your products. But you don't want to give people paid time off. We're learning now that you could have always paid people paid time off. You could have always given people paid sick leave. And it hasn't broken anybody. You just wanted more money, inflated money. So now you all know the truth. The stock market is paper money. It's like a giant ticker parade for the wealthy. They get to count up at the end of the day how many more zeros. The zeros don't really mean anything. It's all inflated paper. That's why they call it instruments, financial instruments. That's why they call it paper. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want you to know the truth, because then you'll shut it down. I was watching a thing on YouTube yesterday where this pastor in Atlanta, people were coming forward. I think the church service might have happened last year. And people were coming forward and he was asking who was going to get evicted. You know what was alarming? It was single mothers. Single mothers, meaning they had children, were the ones who were getting evicted. So he asked the church that so that the women, so they could go take care of their outstanding past due eviction, so they could stay in their homes with their children. And I asked myself the question, why did we himself? You know, this virus is going to change us, though. It's going to change that. It's going to change that. This is why they keep us entertained and engaged. Asking yourself the question, you mean to tell me that I could have worked remotely all this time? I didn't have to be out there struggling to pick up my children and to go home, ruin my marriage, ruin my life, so that I have to go to work every day when I could have done this from home? And you have the religious fanatics over here saying, come into the sanctuary. We have hand sanitizer. No. You could be sitting next to someone who has the virus. You don't want to do that. We can worship right where we are. In fact, we're going to have Palm Sunday at home in a week from now. We're going to have Palm Sunday. Is it going to hurt us? We're going to rediscover what it really is. And you know what we're going to be in the next 30 days, the next 40 days? You know what we're going to be? Prayerful. For those of us who may never entered into our hearts to send up a prayer, we're going to be prayerful. You know, we always say thoughts and prayers like we're mocking people. We're actually going to be prayerful. We're actually going to sit back and say, wow, that could be me. You're going to hear stories of people you know, people whom you have talked to, people whom you have commiserated with, people whom you have laughed with, shared a meal with. You're going to hear that they died from coronavirus and you can't even go to the service. They may have to bury them and we just all have memorial services after. And you won't be able to go and commiserate with the family. And you're going to sit there and say, but for the grace of God, go I. And you're going to find yourself saying, but for the grace of God, go on. And that mockery that you used to make of people, you're going to suddenly say, there might be something to this. I pray that the president comes to that reality when he understands that I am responsible for these people who elected me. These people put their trust in me and put their lives in me. I have to think about them. Instead of watching the ticker parade on Wall Street, they worship Wall Street. This country worships our economic systems, the inflated values that are attached. Have you ever noticed that when a hedge fund manager goes down, it's like, how did he lose 100 million so fast? Because it never was real in the first place. It was inflated money that was passed on, and inflated money. And it was just inflated. He went to the bank, got more loans and so on. It was never real money. That's how come they can lose it so quickly. If you were to ask, why do stocks lose their value? It's inflated money. Anybody remembers Enron? You have the time. Go look up the story of Enron and you will get a full understanding of how the stock market works. It's all paper money. It's not real. That's why you can see a guy who had no money at all become an elected official, and all of a sudden, within a year or two, he can buy stocks in a company and he's now worth $3 million. And you're like, well, you're an elected official. You only earn $178,000 a year. How did you end up with a net worth of It's all inflated money. He started buying stock in a company and it's all inflated value. I kid you not. Right? So we all have to be mindful. And we have to watch for the religious fanatics who are parading their wares across our consciousness. Are you guys seeing them? Like they're saying, if you drink this oil or if you buy this oil, those are religious fanatics. They're taking advantage of your vulnerability and susceptibility to an idea. God is not going to ask you for that. And that's not what Jesus is saying to us at this time. He's saying, pray and care for your fellow man, which is what Jesus had always said. Could I just ask you this one thing? He said, love one another as I have loved you. That's all that Jesus said. That means take care of one another. He never asked you to go get some oil from olive oil and pour it into a bottle and then tell people that it works. Then you have another set of religious fanatics who are saying, if I lay hands on you, I believe in the laying on of hands. but I'm not sure that that's how that is communicated. So even if that is true, guess what? With our skepticism now, we can't even determine if that is true or not, because we're skeptical now because of all this fanatics and fanatism and all this foolishness that is purveying. And somebody wrote on my Facebook page yesterday, and I feel like echoing their sentiments. They're like, so where is Benny Hinn and Prophet Brian Carr now? How come they never saw the coronavirus coming? I've been talking about this stuff for a while. I just didn't want to go there. Right? Where are they now? I bet after this, they're going to tell you how coronavirus proof yourself. You want to bet? You want to bet? Man alive. The ways in which religion can hurt or so on. Right? And that is not to say right now that we got to understand that in a country like Italy that is fervent about their worship, they're Catholics. They taught us Catholicism, didn't they? They proselytized the whole world. And look at what is happening in Italy. Right? And it's only a matter of time before South America starts reporting these numbers. The Italian way of life is seriously at risk. It's going to take them some time to recover. I hope and pray that they actually evolve out of this cycle. They had started slowing down, and it might have been too late to contain the virus because it just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. And by the time they slowed it down, people had already contracted it and were going out in public and so on. It's the same thing that's going to happen here. It seems like no matter what you do, it's still a reality. But I pray for folks in Italy. It's painful to read these numbers. And I'm afraid these numbers are probably going to be replicated in our states. And we're going to see that. So I'm praying for all of us. And when I say prayer, I'm fervently praying for all of us. I'm praying that you who are watching me will continue to be able to view me and listen to me and hear me. I'm praying for your family. I'm praying that all will be well with you economically and financially. But I also am praying for our leaders, that they will be studious and that they will make decisions for the good of all, that they will see that there is a bigger population problem and not just the 15 fat cats who are sitting in front and begging ordinary people, right? And so they can't imagine what it is like to live at the mercy of your bank account and the mercy of your credit card. So they're appealing and begging the government to bail them out. Why should we bail out large corporations? What you do with all the money you have in your account anyway? You claim to be a billionaire, so you didn't spend all that money all at once, did you? So why do you need a bailout on projections that on money you haven't made yet? Are you kidding me? Can we get a stimulus check? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, you see where I'm coming from? I'm just throwing it out there. Like, seriously, these guys are asking for bailouts, right? And they're asking for big time bailouts. But what about the money they have in their accounts? That the billions that they claim to have, the hundreds of millions that they claim to have. What about that money? That can't tide you over? But you're telling ordinary people whom you pay less than wage, less than minimum wage, and less than the living wage to always have 6 months of income saved up. But you have hundreds of millions of dollars in your bank account purportedly, but you still want a bailout? No, man, something is wrong with that. We got to do a better job of taking care of our people. I don't care if you want to call it socialism, because that's what you are all afraid of. We're going to be socialists. Okay, well, don't take care of your people during this virus. You're going to lose your mom, your dad, your grandparents, friends, and family. See how you will feel when this is all over, that all you worshiped was money. It's just, see, I'm talking, but nobody's liking what I'm saying. This is how you know that's the true prophet. When they speak, Nobody likes it because it is what it is. It's the truth. And the truth of the matter is that we worship money. We worship our stock market. I'm not praying for them because they have used people over time. There are people who are hurting right now. We're saying no, okay, we can give you a test, and we can, you know, take care of you. So we could have always provided health care for people all this time. They're placing homeless folks in abandoned buildings. You mean to tell me we could have always done that? Abandoned city and federal buildings. They're placing homeless folks in shelters that we could have always done that. Have we not talked about that? Imagine all the homeless people in 10 cities in San Francisco. We could have found buildings to place those people in, but no, we worship the almighty dollar. And now what? How are you all going to feel when we have to dig fields to bury the dead? How are you all going to feel when the cemeteries will be overrun? This is not the time or place where you can meditatively contemplate laying your loved one to rest. Because the fact of the matter is, if someone in the family has contracted it, other people in the family have been exposed. Have we all quantified that yet? This is because if one person in the family has it, everyone is exposed. You just did, because by the you have contaminated everyone in the family. So what is it going to take? We're going to see mass burials. That's what it's going to take, because clearly we're not seeing what happened in Italy. No, we're not. It doesn't, it's not resonating. It's not making an impact. We're probably looking at it like, that's Italy. So when it starts happening in your community, right where you are, right around you, people whom you know and talk to every day, who are no longer suddenly just obliterated off the face of the earth, that's when it's going to make an impact. And those fat cats on Wall Street who like to have their pictures in the paper, who like to always be seen on TV, and like the title billionaire before their names, for some reason, that's the name they want, billionaire, who have inflated values, and the banks and everybody else is in and on the system. Inflated values and inflated paper money. And the rest of the country is like, whoa, you know who the real MVPs are? You. That's who the real MVP is. You who get up every day. I learned something yesterday that, anyway, let me not talk about it. I can't talk about it publicly. I can't. I guess that will be proven in time. I'm not going to, people are slowly going to talk about it. Nobody's talking about it because everybody is afraid. So I'm not going to say it. All I know is that this is going to be a minute before it passes. It's going to be a while. It's going to hurt, and it's going to take out a lot of you. It's going to take out people from among us, a lot of people, a whole lot of people. People we know and love, people whom we see every day. And it is our carelessness why this has happened, because we were asleep at the switch. We did not take care of our population enough. We did not warn enough. And then we still felt like we needed to party. Did you see the story yesterday on MSN.com that some of the kids who were on the beaches in Tampa, 4 of them have tested positive for the coronavirus? Because we still believe that we should go to a party when a pandemic order is issued. We want to just live in the moment. Because I think at the back of our minds, we are all trying to be like the billionaires. They just big pimping and big balling lifestyle. I'm a billionaire. Billionaire John Torch. Billionaire Elliott Smith. That's the title. Does it sound like I have a problem with it? You bet damn well I do. People are dying out here from lack of coverage and working for these companies that won't even pay $15 an hour, won't even give people paid time off on paid leave. Outside of your little bubble of maybe 50 people or 20 people who get paid time off, the rest of the country does not. While big fat cats can profile and have multiple wives, have multiple women, have multiple homes in every city, and act like they own the freaking planet. And all they have is inflated value. No, I'm not comfortable with that. No, I'm not. And they're not even trying. Right now, I read on my timeline this morning that Ford is going to join with 3M and other companies to make ventilators and make them available to hospitals quickly. That Ford is going to make ventilators and other equipment that hospitals need. That's industry. You know what that is? That's responsible leadership. That's coming forward and saying, yeah, I have enough money. I can run this thing. But you know what? Right now, hospitals need it. I'm going to do it because the people need help. That's looking down with compassion at the people. Where is our compassion? Religion is supposed to be a bastion of hope and compassion. Where is that? If we're not practicing best practices ourselves, how do we expect to influence a whole group of people to convince them to come to Jesus if we ourselves are not exemplifying that same behavior? Where's our hope and where's our compassion? Why are we not calling out the foolishness that we're seeing in the society? Why are we not encouraging civic leaders and state leaders and national leaders to be mindful of the people and to exemplify and demonstrate compassion towards the people? It's not enough for us to go disappear into your religious house, collect all the money you can get, and then zip right out and drive into your gated community. You are as much a part of the problem as the fat cats on Wall Street are. You're just using religion to make money, just like the fat cats on Wall Street. Where is the compassion? How are you going to deliver hope if at the end of the day, I always say this, the difference is what you drive when you go in the parking lot. There you are driving a 2010 Ford Focus, and he's driving a 2019 Bentley, a 2019 Mercedes. And when you go out, you go different paths because he's headed to the hills and you're headed downstream, downriver. Where's the company? He's no different than the fat cats on Wall Street. He just cloaks in a familiar form that uses your emotions and stimulates you. Where is the hope and the compassion? That's not what Jesus is about. That's not what the purity of religion is about. The purity of religion is to drive people to faith and to exemplify hope and love and compassion. The Bible says it like this: now I leave these. There is faith, there's hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Love is exercising compassion one to another. Love is seeing your fellow man. Love is having your employees and making sure they have paid time off. That's love for your fellow man. Love is making sure pregnant women and disabled people are not struggling up disabled ramps and into elevators and removing their dignity from them, forcing them to come to work even though you know they can, just so you can sit there with a smirk on your face. That's not love. Wipe that smirk off. I hope this economic albatross will wipe the smirk off the faces of the fat cats. I hope they live to see their bank accounts whittled down to $0.13 like most folks have. I hope they have to sit there and figure out, how am I going to make it on what I have? People losing their homes. You fire people indiscriminately with at-will employment. That's not love and that's not hope. You fire people for no other reason than you want to cut their bottom line out of your bottom line because you're paying them too much. They're taking money out of your pocket while you have hundreds of millions of inflated dollars in the bank. And people are dying from a lack of money. Women and children are displaced. How can you call yourself a human being and you go evict a woman with children knowing that they have nowhere to sleep? They won't have a toilet to go to or to wash their hands. The very basic function. How can you still see locked for 6 months while you collect the insurance money from your inflated value in your inflated portfolios? How do you go to bed at night and people are hungry and walking the streets, homeless and hungry, and then you say they're mentally ill? Wouldn't you be if you find yourself without shelter and without use of a bathroom facility? And it was the first time in my entire life that I came in contact with a whole family being homeless. I had no frame of reference for that. I did not understand it. I couldn't understand how a whole family could be on the street. I had just left. My daughter at the time my oldest daughter was 15, and the baby was 5. And I remember that morning when I left, their biggest issue was, what time are you coming back? Because we got to go to the mall. That was their biggest issue. And here was a whole family with a 15-year-old child. And the mother was worried that her daughter was not coming back to the shelter in the evenings. She realized she was about to lose her daughter. That's what you fat cats on Wall Street do. Proud of yourselves, aren't you? Some of you are all listening to me. Feel good about yourselves, don't you? When you go and have sex with vulnerable people who are economically vulnerable, you feel good about yourself. Oh, I just throw some money at them. I'm helping to feed them. Seriously? You're all going to pay for this stuff. Your values will be wiped out. Trust me. You're going to be leveled like everybody else and come right back down to normal. This is not over yet. This too is not going to pass. It's not going to pass. You're going to feel what it feels like to be ordinary. And you're going to come right back down to where you started. Your economic values will be wiped out. It will be gone because you did not build your house on compassion and love. You built your house on the worship of money. That's what the Bible warned against. It didn't say you weren't to have money. It said don't worship it. That's the difference. The difference is the worship of the money. You should not worship it and build a tower to it. You should have the money, make the money, put as much away as possible, provide for your family, and help others while you are making the money. Build up your place. I'm going to tell you the story of a man named Henry Ford. Ever heard of him? Ford Motor Company, one of the largest companies in the world. Ford Motor Company owns everything in the United Kingdom, practically. Ford Motor Company. You know who that was? A little old guy named Henry Ford. He had a vision. Yes, some say he was racist. He was evocative of the times that he lived in. If he were alive today, he would have evolved. But he had a vision and he lived that out. Do you know that he built his company on compassion? He helped others who at the time could not help themselves. And do you know that today, when we had the bailout in 2008, Ford did not need a bailout. A guy came along with a bright idea who said he was going to sell off all of Ford's properties and put all the money in the bank to tide them over for 18 months. And Ford Motor Company did not need a bailout. He started his company on love and compassion. Fat cats too. But here in the Detroit area, everybody knows about Ford. They give away money. They're rich. They're so wealthy, they're embedded and vested for at least another 50 generations. But you know what they do? They help others. So their name, the Blue Oval, will always stand because the guy who started it all built it on compassion. They ain't going to lose nothing. General Motors ain't going to lose nothing. Chrysler ain't going to lose, but the rest of you all who have paper value, you'll be wiped out. You're going to be wiped out. And that's the story. You, my friends, stay prayed up. Find your true God. Not the God of mammon, not the God of money, but the God who is able to save. Go pray. Read Philippians chapter 4, Psalm 121. Then go over and download the Bible app. Read. And find the truth in yourself. And if you can pay somebody's rent to avoid eviction, do it. You can help somebody avoid falling off their cars. Help someone buy groceries for the love of God. Do it. Make donations. Right? I got to go, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Harriet Kemick with Down to Earth. You're welcome to visit my website, theexodusfoundation.com. There you can find more information on what we do here in the Detroit area, providing services to victims of human trafficking. Thank you so much. Go to my website, harrietkemick.com, as well as listen to previous podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one. Be blessed, everybody. Be blessed.